Genealogy Society. And tonight, we are very lucky. We have Tom MacEntee, and he's from Chicago, Illinois, and ha- his business is called Genealogy Bargains. But he's a professional genealogist, and he specializes in the use of technology and social media to improve your genealogical research and as a means of interacting with other members of the genealogy and family history community. So he got his start in the Department of Agriculture many years ago, and he had a career in educational programming, and he did that for 25 or 30 years. And then he decided that maybe to move in a different direction, and so he went into client research and genealogy for a while, but then he transitioned back to being an educator again. So he's back to educating us on how to do a better job of our research. But his repertoire is quite extensive. He does usually about 250 webinars a year on 60 or more topics. So you can imagine that if you have a question, he's probably going to have an answer for you because he seems very well versed. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tom.
Great. Thank you, Eve. I really appreciate it and appreciate all your help and Chris with modifying. So I'm going to go ahead and start my share. And let's go over here. There we go. So, my name is Thomas MacEntee. Usually I'm in Chicago, where many are cold, but few are frozen. But right now, as I said before, I'm in Palm Springs, California, in the Southern California desert, where it is 99 degrees. We're here for AI and genealogy. Trouble ahead. This is a great overview of the topic. Uh, Even if you've tried ChatGPT or any of the major platforms, this is a little bit more focused as a topic. I was in the information technology field for 25 years. Then, when the Great Recession came about in 2008, I saw that those jobs for guys in their late 40s like me were not coming back. I've been doing genealogy. I am in my 49th year, believe it or not. I started as a 14-year-old boy living in upstate New York with my great grandparents who were born in the 1890s in New York. And we were watching the miniseries Roots on television, and I got hooked as a kid. So I've seen it all, even before the IBM PC. I remember sound decks and microfilm and pencil and paper. AI, I've been using artificial intelligence for genealogy. It's coming up on 2 years now. And every day I'm amazed. I really am. Now, the handout is posted in the chat or will be posted again at the end if you're just joining us. That is my intellectual property, so please don't share it. One thing you'll find about my handouts is they are extensive. This is not a bullet point outline. You really don't need to take many notes, and all the resources are at the end. So URLs you don't need to write down. My goal is actionable genealogy education. You can pick up this handout later today or tonight, tomorrow, next week, or month and say, I'm going to get started on this. Now, that being said, I am a big supporter of historical society and genealogy society newsletters. I give liberal permission for use of my handout materials for articles for newsletters. I've been the editor for newsletter articles for newsletters, and I know what it's like to scramble for content. The thing is, you'd have to have the editor email me. My address is highdefgen@gmail.com, and I will send them the word form of this in article. And all I want is an attribution and a link back to my website. I also have 40 other articles that cover technology as well as research methodology. All right, we're going to have some fun. The other thing I want to say is I'm one of the few genealogy webinar presenters that is showing AI in real time. Uh, I'm not going to pull up a slide and say, boom, this is what happens. No, you're going to see how fast this can be and how accurate this can be. Uh, AI is a bit of a hot buzzword right now, and this is a fact you may not know. Vendors such as Ancestry, Find My Past, MyHeritage, even Family Search have been using AI for years. And the reason they haven't called it AI is it does tend to have a negative connotation. We're going to set off nuclear weapons, learn how to build a bomb, etc. And so only recently have they started to get on the AI bandwagon. Also, AI itself, you will find over the next 5 years, it will probably permeate every aspect of business and society, much like social media started to do in 2008. So my goal here is for you to get fair and balanced information to make a decision as to whether you really want to actively pursue using artificial intelligence. This means going out to certain platforms and prompting it with messages or uploading documents and asking for translation or transcription. Okay. And I think this will be a real eye opener for you if you have not used AI, or maybe you've heard only negative things about it. So, what is artificial intelligence and why should you and I be concerned? Well, this is my nutshell definition. It represents computer based systems that can mimic human intelligence. Some say human stupidity as well. But the goal is to have these systems perform human tasks. So what does that mean? Well, if you remember 40 years ago, television commercials, there was one by Ford Motor Company and General Motors that showed robots on the assembly line, picking up a part, assembling it, moving on down the line. That's very early AI when you think about it, but that robot had one task, and it was a human task. What we're talking about now are very, very complex databases, servers that can make decisions. And they can take your requests and work with their vast database of documents. They can go through and find connections faster than you or I could. It can compare two photos, and come back and tell you, oh, 80% probability that's the same person. It's just actually amazing. So let's go over the five AI platforms. Now, these five platforms I've selected because they're the ones that are used most by genealogists. They are safe to use. They have guardrails. You will not blow up the world. You will not learn how to build a gun, any of that. They also are all free. And I like free because I'm the cheapest genealogist around. However, there is a paid version, a subscription, and I'll talk about that in a bit. For a first platform, and these are ranked in order of popularity and probably in power level. A little water there so I don't lose my voice. So ChatGPT, which you probably have heard of, ChatGPT is actually owned by a nonprofit called OpenAI. It was set up 5 or so years ago by Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, Elon Musk, Google. All these investors put in billions of dollars, created this technology as a base, and then took that base product and added to it so they could create their own proprietary artificial intelligence platform. We're going to go take a look at ChatGPT. I'm going to close this and I'm going to close that. There we go. Perfect. And make sure that you can see this screen if you can. If someone would interrupt, let me know. But I'm actually showing ChatGPT right now. This is what it looks like. It's very simple. If you see, I'm logged in up here. There's my ugly face. My mother always said I had a face made for radio. And there's your proof. I am on a subscription, so it says Pro. Uh, Everything, it has all my old jobs saved over here. And this is very plain and, streamlined. No programming language, no Boolean operators. You can ask it a question, but it doesn't have to be in a question. So you can upload documents here as well. All right. They also have a feature called deep research. Now, deep research takes longer. It will produce source citations. But let me warn you about free usage. You can only do so much. And then after an hour or so, they will say, we put a halt on your account. Come back in 24 hours. And I'm not kidding. Some platforms do it more frequently and faster than others. ChatGPT is pretty good. But if you're uploading big documents, you're making big requests, remember, They're here to serve their subscribers. Subscriptions for most of the platforms run about $20 a month, and you can sign up monthly. That's what a lot of my followers do. They say, I'm going to be traveling during the month of June, so I let my ChatGPT subscription expire, not auto renew, and I'll come back and I'll renew it, and I'll have saved up all these jobs to do, and that's perfectly a perfect good way to do. Claude. Claude by Anthropic is number two, sort of a dark horse, a stealth. But the thing is, let me warn you, here it's going to come up. I'm logged in, of course. You do have to have a login for all of these. So if you're concerned about security, maybe set up a burner email or something like that. But here it is. I have things that I've worked on before. But notice right here, they want the upgrade. Claude is one of the stingiest in terms of offering free usage. I will warn you with that. And they are great. I think ChatGPT is great overall. Claude is great at helping you with writing and research. Many of my books, I have 20 books on Amazon. I have created the outline, the chapter outline on Claude. And then it's very good with writing and coming up with ideas. Let me close that. Here we go with Copilot. Copilot is Microsoft. Uh, so this is weird. Well, not weird. I was a certified Microsoft trainer for many, many years back in the 80s and 90s, and I know how the company works in terms of new products. They tend to inject them into their other products slowly but surely. So Copilot you can now find in Outlook, Hotmail, Office, Office 365, Edge, the browser, Bing, the search engine, and now Windows 11. I think Microsoft's motto should be you will be assimilated, but you always have the option to turn that off within those programs. This is what Copilot looks like. Again, we see a theme going on here. Logged in up there, very simple, very simplified and streamlined. You put your message. They also have one here where you can do think deeper but that will give you for more complex topics. But again, it will take longer and use up more of your, I call them tokens for free use. And then if we go back to our slideshow, Gemini. Gemini is by Google. I'm just surprised for Google it's not more popular. They have injected it into Google Docs and all of their other Gmail, etc. Right here, they're pushing the advanced program. They're also showing you that they have other programs. These are previews. Okay, they're trying to entice you into upgrading. And again, you can put your requests and you can do deep research. You can upload documents. They all work alike. Then finally, this is one of my favorites, Perplexity. And so I will show you why in a minute. We'll do this in real time. I think it's the busiest screen of all of them. They are known for research. That is their strong point. Okay. But again, and here I am, Cathedral City. It's telling me it's 98 degrees. But Perplexity, you'd be surprised. It's not great at transcribing or translating, but it is very good, again, at research and writing, like Claude. Let's go back to our slideshow. So those are the 5 platforms. That's what I would recommend. There are a lot of others out there. I would warn you, please don't go out to the Google and say AI translate Italian, because you will get sponsored links. They probably will charge you, but keep in mind they will not have as large a knowledge base to pull from as these 5 that I've mentioned. So let's talk about AI and genealogy. We've been using it for years, and I'm going to show you some of that. The first thing is, let's talk. Remember spell check? I was a word perfect blue screen guy, 5.2. Then I went over to the dark side and Microsoft Word. And spell check is really easy if I can explain it. You're typing, you mistype something, and it comes up with a red squiggly. And how did that work? Well, it took your word and it looked it up in a flat file, a text file on your computer, and it said, "Oh, there's a mismatch. I can't find this." And then we had grammar check. So spell check was not artificial intelligence, but grammar check is. Why? Because it had to make decisions. Oh, is his participle dangling? Should I say use the Oxford comma? Things like that. It had to look at what you were typing and make a decision. And that's slowly how it started. Plus, the 1950 census. It was released over 3 years ago, April 1st, 2022. Do you remember the release? It was right out of COVID. And now what they did is they released it, and I said to myself, ugh, we're going to have to index all of these images because that's what we did in 2012 when the 1940 census was released. It took 100,000 volunteers. I was one of them. It took us 123 days to actually just manually type into spreadsheets the information on screen. Guess what? For 1950, National Archives worked with Ancestry and Family Search, and they used the power of AI to read handwriting. And they had a searchable index from day one. It was crazy. I was just blown away, especially if they can read the handwriting of my enumerators for my ancestors, because I think they used their own font. But that was practical use. Now, current uses. Here's some you may not know about. Uh, MyHeritage excels at family photos. Okay. And I'm going to go to my photo database here and I'm going to pull up one. Now, you don't need a subscription to do this. They allow you to do this for up to 5 images. But here's a photograph I scanned of my second great aunt, Elizabeth McCrickard. You notice it's got creases. It could do better on the focus. And what they have here is you might not be able to see it, but there are some preset buttons here: repair, enhance, and colorize. This is AI. What they're doing is they're using a third-party company to go in and take out scratches in that, or to change the focus, or to colorize. Could you do this yourself using, say, ChatGPT? Sure, but it would be pretty tedious. You'd have to upload the file, you'd have to write the prompt correctly. So that's why they do this. And this is what basically the result was. I'm pretty happy with it. It did clean up the creases in that, made the focus better. I don't know about the color, etc. But the other thing you may not have noticed is look at this. It came up with an estimated date automatically. That is also AI. Now, how did it do this? So it took this photo, or actually the original, and it compared it to millions of photos from the Library of Congress in the public domain. Those photos are grouped and categorized by hairstyle, by jewelry, by dress. And this is like Gibson girl hair. So they knew this was, around 1900. They looked at the jewelry, the sleeves, etc., and they come up with an estimated date. It's crazy. My mind couldn't do this, comparing millions of photos. So that's a really good use of that. I'm going to go ahead and close my heritage and go back to our slideshow. Transcription is really the strong suit. I have a link at the end to this article about the 1950 U.S. Census Project, and you can learn the technical aspects of how they leveraged AI. And they did this as a stealth. I mean, there really was not much news about it until it happened. Great. Searching and suggesting records. You probably have seen this feature. I'm going to go ahead to Family Search, and I know I'm going to have to log in. You have to log in every time now with Family Search. At least it's not two-factor authentication where you have to give away your life and a pint of blood to just get in. There we go. Perfect. Okay, and I'm going to go here, and it's a little bit slow. I'm going to search. I'm going to search records for someone that I'm sure you don't know, but they're kind of famous. I'm going to look for Ransom Olds, Olds, the inventor of the Oldsmobile, and REO Speedwagon, not the band, the car. And I had to do some research on him. So I'm going to go ahead and search for him. And I'm going to pull up his death certificate from 1950. Now, if you look at this, and if you ever pulled up a record, do you notice here similar records? This is all AI, folks. It quickly took records that are similar to this one and it has pulled them up in a list. This is a great help. When this feature first came out in Ancestry, it wasn't very accurate. It's gotten more and more accurate. Also, look at this transcript, this abstract. I can just copy and paste this into my research. This is done via AI, as is this on the left. Cite this record. Then I can just hit copy citation and paste it into my work. That is all extracted through AI. So those are the things we appreciate. And then DNA matches. There's another link to an article. It's a 6-minute read on Medium. It's free. And you should check it out because it talks about the science behind uh, matching DNA results. Did you know there are almost 30 million people that have tested with Ancestry DNA? Could you imagine trying to go through matches manually, etc.? It's just not going to happen. Right. Okay. So now the fun stuff starts. I want to check my time. We're doing good. And here are some examples, some real-time examples. Let me warn you, and let me take a sip of water here. You will not find records for research on AI platforms. Okay. This is the reason. Most of them are behind paywalls. Ancestry, Find My Past, and My Heritage. All right, they're behind paywalls. Then also, Family Search requires a login, and it's a licensing issue. But here's social history. You know what social history is? It's the dash between the person's birth date and the death date. How did they live? How much was a dozen eggs? Things like that. That's what's interesting to me. So here's a situation. Hugo Freer is my ninth great grandfather. He was a Huguenot. He was thrown out of Catholic France around 1675, and he settled in New Paltz, New York, in the Hudson Valley. In fact, his stone house that was started in 1699 is still standing. It blows my mind every time I go home to New York. And I want to know what was it like to live as a Huguenot in that area around 1700. So this is the prompt I'm going to use, or something similar. That's what they're called. They're called prompts, and in a way, you're having a conversation with the OpenAI platform. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to say, what was life like for, and I'm going to get more specific, French Huguenots in New Paltz, New York, around 1700. Now, let me say this. You know how on Ancestry we recommend you should always search broad and then narrow in? This is different. With AI, you always want to give it as much context as possible. For free use, that makes sense. The less it has to work to determine certain things, the better. Okay, I don't even have to do a question. We're not playing Jeopardy, but I am. And I'm going to go ahead and let this run. And look at that. Wow. Okay. And it comes up with all of the information. Okay. And this is great. This gives me good background, maybe on a culture or ethnic group I didn't know about to do that. And it's still going through. So it depends on the type of prompt. It can take a while to form. Sometimes they also have slow bandwidth, so I have no control over that. Okay, and now it also offers some help. Look at that. It will help me find specific records. Do not be lured. You will not get the records. It will tell you to go to Ancestry or that. But let's talk about this. You can copy this, all this text, copy it, and then paste it into Microsoft Word or your notes section of your software for genealogy. You can give it a feedback, and I urge you to do so. Now, in this situation, did you know the first time I ran this query about a year and a half ago, it said that the houses were built of wood. Now I knew better. I had photos of my great grandfather's house. And so I went like this. I said, bad response. Uh, I said more, and I gave it source citation. Actually, and look at this, being lazy is actually one of the responses. You may find that a platform is actually lazy, especially if you're using the free version and the servers are busy. Okay. But here, the copy thing. Let's talk briefly about copyright. This is all I'm going to say right now. Did you know there's no copyright restriction on information generated by artificial intelligence platforms? You are free to use it. free to amplify it, to edit it, to use it as is. Okay. And we'll discuss that in a minute and why. And here I'm going to start. Now, the one thing you notice, did you see any source citations? We don't know where this is coming from, right? Okay. We're going to go to the next one. We're going to do that. Okay. Uh, and so let's do record sets. Let's say I'm unfamiliar with, I have a German relative all of a sudden. Here's Gustav Henneberg, 1881. He arrived in New York. I'm going to go Perplexity and say, what records can I use? Okay. And this will show you how strong Perplexity is. Okay. Even the free version. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say, what records can I use to locate information on a German ancestor instead of ancestor who arrived in New York City? And I want to put a date because it makes a difference in 1881. Okay. Uh, I could also do this genealogy information. I could also do this role genealogist. Okay. Great. And I'm going to say search. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry, right here, the enter button. And look at this. Sources, 18 sources. We love sources as genealogists, right? So it put them there, and it even puts them in footnotes here. The reason I picked the 1881 date, I wanted to make sure it referenced Castle Garden. Castle Garden was open until 1890 before Ellis Island. And it breaks down all of these different, look at all of this. Gives me research tips, gives me a chart of online resources and what their coverage is. I can go ahead and copy this. I can give it a rating. And what I also like is it then comes up with related prompts, okay, that you can keep going with. So that is Perplexity's strong suit. And notice here's the results. See, this was back in October of 2023, and they only had 6 sources. That's important. So let's stop and think about this. All of these, I told you, all of these learn. They make decisions. How are they learning? Well, they're learning from information that the company buys. They also scrape the internet looking for new information. And they also use the information that you put in, items that you upload. So it's always learning. I recommend to users, if you've done a prompt, go back and do it about 4 months later. You will get more refined information and probably more and better resource sources. Transcription. Now, this is the fun part. Uh, I have a second grade uncle, Robert Austin. He was the brother of my great grandfather. I received a death notice printed in a 1924 newspaper, and it was on an index card given to me by my great grandmother. It told the story of how he tried to save a girl off of Long Island, New York. And so I'm going to upload it and have it transcribed. This is a human task that used to do a lot. Now with, arthritis in my hands and I'm just getting over detached retina surgery, it's just not easy. So I'm going to do this. Go to ChatGPT. I first have to upload the image. Okay. And let's see. There's AI. There it is. And here's the notice. It's uploaded it. And I'm going to say transcribe exactly. And I urge you to use that word exactly because, especially with the free platform, you may get a summary. All right. And now I could say this death notice from 1924, but I don't think that I need to. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. It shows me, and you can see how it's faded. And look at how fast it transcribed that. Wow. And of course, it is your duty to go back and proof it, to check that it has done things. There are times when platforms will hallucinate. Don't laugh, but that's the term they use. I had one Civil War pension affidavit, a one-pager, handwritten. And it said that the gentleman was part of Sherman's army that went through Georgia to Atlanta and that was nowhere in the original. I don't know how it came up with that. Okay. The other thing you can do is I'm a stickler. I want to do this. I want to say transcribe exactly. Uh, transcribe. It's somewhat forgiving on spelling and grammar. Using line breaks in original document. That's usually how I do it. And there, sure enough, it's going to come up with this. And that is exactly as it appears in the newspaper. And go ahead and copy that, and you're good to go. Here's another one I'm going to do. I'm going to do my mother's birth certificate. It's a delayed birth certificate. She was born in 1941, but this was issued in 1958. I figure she probably needed this to get her first job to prove age. I'm going to say transcribe exactly this certificate of baptism dated 1958. Now, when it comes up, you'll see what it is. It's a fill in the blank form. These can be a problem. It's got a combination of handwriting. It's got artwork. It says Barbara Jacqueline Austin. My mother was born Jacqueline Austin legally. The saint's name is Barbara. Parents were Alfred Austin and Anna Henneberg, born July 12th, 1941 in New York. The sponsors were the Marconis, who are my great aunt and great uncle. And this was issued August 27th, I think, 1958. Let's see what it did. Wow. Austin Henneberg. Yeah, it did pretty great, and it did that very quickly. Now, if you really want something that's going to blow your mind, you see each time I'm coming up here and starting a new chat, I'm going to upload what I think is one of the worst examples of a handwritten letter. It is an 1821 letter in support of a Revolutionary War pension. Okay, so I'm going to say transcribe exactly uh, this hand written letter in English, dated 1821, an affidavit in support of an American Rev War pension application. And I could say who it's for, Jacob Hoff. You have up to 2,000 characters to put in your prompt. I'm going to go ahead and let it rip. Look at how ugly this letter is. There's even bleed through from the other page. Okay, and look at how fast it's doing this. Oh my gosh. Can you believe this? I'm still just amazed every time I teach this. Okay, there it is. And I can go ahead again. Or you want it analyzed for genealogical clues, see? So it really is great, and I can copy this and use this. It really is a big time saver. So transcription. Now you notice I've been citing my sources. We will talk about that. Uh, so here's the last one is translation. Let's take a German marriage record from 1881. It's in a form, so it's handwriting and everything. And we're going to have it first transcribe the German, then translate it to English. Now, when you're working with translation, it is probably the most important that you put it in context. Let me give you an example. If you had a letter from Normandy, from the north of France in 1850, and you wanted it translated, you should say what the origin is. Otherwise, ChatGPT will use base modern day Parisian, and you're probably not going to get a good translation. So where are we here? There it is. Okay, I got it. I'm going to say, translate this German marriage record. Now, if it was from Switzerland, I would say that because Swiss German is different than German spoken in Germany. Uh, Dated 1881. Uh, and I should say translate exactly. Remember, I don't want a summary. And no, I'm doing it backwards. I'm sorry. Transcribe first. And then I'm going to say, and then translate to English. And I'm going to say, Uh, let's say use for genealogy research. Great. Okay. If I knew the location, I would put it in there. Let's go ahead and do this. There is the form. And here is the German translation. My German is not that great. 2 years of college and nothing to show for it. But here's the genealogical for purposes. Okay. And there we go. And also, see, it says Polish or Prussian, so it knew. Here are the towns. See, it's great. It pulled that out. And I can go ahead and do that. So I think it's pretty neat. And there again, all of that. So let's move to a few things like copyright and AI. What's going on with copyright? The content that is generated cannot currently be copyrighted. That's what the lower courts in the US have found. Okay. Now, this may change, and I'll tell you why. Did you know that photographs were not allowed to be copyrighted till 1881 in the US, even though photography was around for over 30 years? Photography was seen as some dark magic, a man in a cloak and a machine and all of this. And how was it, wasn't written by hand. How was this image produced? Well, they then understood that it took expertise with the camera. You created glass negative, you made prints. And so we may very well see changes in this law, in this ruling down the road. The other one, and this is more important, where is it getting its information from? We don't know for the most part. They're not very disclosing. There's a bill in front of the Senate that's been there a year and a half now that would force these AI platforms to disclose the origin of their data. What they are doing, and this is their knowledge base or training data, they are scraping the internet and they have scraped my cheat sheets. I have 40 cheat sheets on my website. I have proven this. Don't you think that I should get a royalty every time that ChatGPT uses these? That would make sense. So this is in the courts right now. Some famous authors are suing ChatGPT, big newspapers, etc., because they've had all of their copyrighted information basically lifted for that purpose. For source citations. Now, for me, uh, I would want to be ethical and transparent if I used a translation from AI and I didn't do it myself, or if I created a social history and I just use it as is. So I think there's a personal responsibility for that. The other thing is Evidence Explained by Elizabeth Moon Mills has come out with her fourth edition revised. That was in the fall of last year and has pages 691 and 692 go over how to cite things in AI. I prefer the MLA uh, formula, and let's walk through the formula. So first, in quotation marks, you put your query. What did you ask the platform to do? The name of the platform, the date or version of the platform. Remember, I said these are learning platforms. So something that was run a year ago is going to be different. The results will be different. The name of the AI company. This is not always apparent. The date that you performed this query and the platform. So in a real life situation, uh, on the 1930 U.S. Census, my great grandfather's house was listed as valued at 80,000. I wanted $80,000. I wanted to know what was that in current dollars. So for Gemini, this is what I would use. I'd use this format for any platform. I typed in value of home in the 1930 U.S. Census, listed as $80,000 in 2023 dollars. That was the prompt. Gemini was the platform. I used their paid advanced version. It's owned by Google. I did this on February 6th, 2024. And then that's the URL. Great. What about future uses of AI for genealogy? Well, this is what I've forecast. This is what a lot of other genealogists are saying that they want to see. There has been a lot of pulling of hair and gnashing of teeth over AI that's going to ruin genealogy. It's the same thing we went through with social media, and guess what? Where do people do their queries and lookups now? They go to Facebook. They go to genealogy groups in Facebook. The sky has not fallen. DNA triangulation, that's going to be better in determining relationships, especially on family trees. Conversion of handwriting in a searchable text, but is only going to get better. It will do German Fraktur right now. Did a letter from Japan in 1600 for a follower. We translated to English. I've been working on Jewish records, Cyrillic, Hebrew, and Yiddish, both printed and handwritten. It's not there 100%. The only thing it can do, folks, right now is shorthand. Do you remember Greg Shorthand from the 50s and 60s? I talked to my friend who's an engineer at ChatGPT, and she said, it's not that we don't have dictionaries, dictionaries showing you the form, and it's just that everyone had their own way of writing them. I believe they will get there eventually. I want better source citations. I want them to be automatic. And then I want to go in, I want to be able to say, I want it in evidence explained style. We're not there yet. This one would be a big one. Fan club, friends, associates, and neighbors. What if it could go through millions, not if not billions of pages of historical newspapers and find how two people are connected? That's what it does well. It goes through massive amounts of data and looks for connections faster than the human mind. This one I've already started doing. I have uploaded two photos of what I think are the same person. I say, are these the same person? And then it will come up with a probability and it will say it's based on the profile, the way the eyes are set, etc. And it also already dates photos. We know that. And then also, I would like to do better on that when I say what record sets. I don't think it's as extensive as it could be to find offline files. AI, the good and the bad and the ugly. I am the ugly of AI, but let's go over the good and the bad. Uh, this is really fair and balanced information. I want you just to be informed. This cuts through all the hype, all through what media is saying. The good aspects, analyzing vast amounts of data. I mean, you just can't beat it. It blows me away all the time. Last week, I took a 400-page book on the Crandalls of Rhode Island. I'm a Crandall, and I said it had no index. So I told it I found it on Internet Archive. It was printed in 1898. I uploaded the PDF and I said, I want you to create a summary of all this migration routes, grouped by surname, and then within surname, group it by generation. And it took about 7 minutes, but it did it, and I was amazed. Translation and transcription. This is a strong suit. This is really just it's amazing. Timelines and mapping. This is not perfect yet, but with the paid version, you can have it create a timeline with the information you upload on an ancestor. Then I would ask it insert local events on the timeline, insert national events, mapping. I took 30 names and dates and addresses for my Hennebergs in New York City, and it plotted them on a Google map as to where they all lived. The bad. Lack of transparency, which is what I've talked about. Now, on that first one I did for Hugo Freer, remember I said, what was life like for French Huguenots? I could have followed that up with, please, I could say, please provide sources. And it would go and it would do it, but it's not automatic. And that's what I don't like. Bias. There's a big bias, and it makes sense. Garbage in, garbage out on computers. An example. If you go and you say, I want an image of a physician, 70% of the time, ChatGPT will produce a male image. If you say the same thing for a nurse, it will present a female image. So copyright. Again, this is going to be the big legal battle over the next 5 years. False information. This does happen. They're not sure why it happens. It's more so when the platform gets lazy. It happens more with free usage, and then privacy violations. Now what is it doing with the information I uploaded? Is it becoming part of their database? There are ways to turn that off. The 5 platforms I recommended all have strong privacy protections, but you need to go in and you need to review them. Then finally, the high cost. Did you know there is a very high climate impact on AI? And if you think about it, these servers are in data centers. And we know there are a lot of data centers in Virginia, and those centers run very hot and they need water for cooling, etc. So there's concern. And that's why there's a charge, a subscription on these platforms for, because you're hitting the servers harder with bigger requests and more complicated requests. So finally, the way that I treat AI is this, folks. It's much like when humans discovered fire. The technology itself is innocent. It's all about how we use it. You got your fire, you can light up your cave, you can roast your meats. That's great stuff. It burns and hurts like hell. It could burn down a town and everything. So what I want is stay informed. Want you to do is stay informed. When you sign up for any of these, please say yes to receiving e-news. Go out and read a variety of information. Go to CNET, PC Magazine, Business Week, MSNBC, Fox News, CNN, all of it, because they're all going to have their different takes on it. And I'm a glass half full kind of guy, but I really think this is amazing and has great possibilities for genealogy research. Let me do a few things on resources. The handout has a list of all the resources that are there. In terms of reaching me, you can always reach me at highdefgen@gmail.com with a question. Please keep it focused on this. I don't do client research anymore, so I can't help you there. And then finally, I'll come out to the internets. As someone said, this is my website, I think Eve said, called Genealogy Bargains. If you go and visit, you'll get a prompt to sign up for my email list. I show sale items and things like that, also free access. But here's the golden thing, free cheat sheets. You can go here and you can get over 40 different cheat sheets. They're two-page, two-sided PDFs, which are great to use. And then if you wanted to, you can also go and look at me on Amazon. I have many books. My latest book is a 400-page book on tracing your New York roots, being a native New Yorker. Here's an example. This is one of my bestsellers. The Big Book of Genealogy lists. What it is if you've ever scrambled for things, uh, okay, there it is. If you ever scrambled for things like abbreviations and acronyms, I have 2,000 of them that are used in genealogy. Land and legal terminology for the US, the UK, Canada, city directory abbreviations, 2,000 different archaic medical terms and archaic professions, cemetery iconography, nicknames, first name abbreviations, and this one is one of the best. I have a research checklist that I use for US research, and it lists 320 different record sets that you should consider for a US person. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. I'm going to put Eve on the spot, or Chris, and say, what did you think of the presentation?
Well, I'll just say, wow.
Had you used
It's
it at all? Have you used AI at all, Eve?
no, I've watched another webinar on or a presentation on it, but it was not nearly this much how to
Yes.
um
Yeah.
um and it's it just makes me want to stay up till 3 in the morning and try
And I
some
am
of
not
this stuff.
responsible. I'm not responsible for your personal sleeping habits. Nope, nope, that is not my
Uh,
fault. So, yeah,
no,
but it's
I
pretty
found it
amazing.
fabulous.
Yeah, pretty
It
amazing
just
what it can
makes
do.
me mad that, I spent all those many hours sitting there transcribing letters and
I know.
deeds and
I
wills
know. Yes,
and
I
I could
know.
have just um,
Yeah, yeah,
uploaded them.
yeah. Do we have any questions in the chat? I guess not. Maybe everyone's stunned to silence. So, yeah. But you're welcome to ask questions. Uh, one of my big projects I'm doing this summer is I have about 5 years of my great grandmother's handwritten diary from the 1950s that I'm going to scan and then transcribe, and I can't wait for that. And but this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more complicated stuff that it can do. One of the things, let me share this, and it's a resource that is on your handout. There is a group on Facebook called AI and Genealogy. And I'm not a big Facebook fan, but this is one of them. There, just was right there. Genealogy and artificial intelligence. This is a group run by Blaine Bettinger. They have almost 11,000 members. It's a place where you can safely ask questions or give examples, and people showing off, some of what they're doing and their projects, etc. So that's one, and that's listed in your resources as well. Great. Okay. I guess there are no questions, Chris.
I do
You?
Yep,
have a
Yeah.
question.
Okay. Okay.
they're
You
coming into you. Go ahead, Eve.
there.
Um, you transcribed, say, the baptismal certificate.
Sure.
If it's an easy to read certificate, why do you transcribe it? What do you use the transcription for?
Well, the thing is, what I want is when I use a genealogy research log, and so I've done that as a professional genealogist. It's a spreadsheet, and I usually need an abstract. Or the test. I have that in a column. I also will put that in the notes. Just because I have the image in my software doesn't mean that that text has been transcribed. So I want it. It's just something that I want to have, usually, and but then you can go on from there, and you can say now summarize it, or now if it's a long transcription. For me, it's just easier. Because of my eyesight and everything, but usually, like, look at the handwritten letter. Look at how ugly and awful that one was. I mean, that's definitely a candidate. Uh, Maybe if I were just extracting things like my mother's birth date and her baptismal date, etc. Yeah, you're right. Why would I have to transcribe it? Or that short article on the death of Robert Austin, because I would want to extract clues. And that's one thing you can also do. You can say extract clues for, genealogy information. So, yeah. What was the question in the chat? There's one in chat.
The question was, I have an old German passport from 1852, and I'll use chat to transcribe and translate. Also, handwritten Polish records in Cyrillic to do the same thing. Amazing
Yes. Yeah,
Polish
it is.
records.
It is. It even does German Fraktur. I recently translated the 1901 Tehran census from Farsi to English. Its language capabilities, and this is all Chat GPT. One thing I also want to say, I recommend, if you don't like the results you get from Chat GPT, the free version, before you pony up money for a subscription, go to Gemini, go to Claude, and try the same prompt. Gemini seems to do better with Cyrillic and Yiddish and Hebrew for some reason. They all have different knowledge bases. I think ChatGPT has the largest, but don't put down money out of frustration. Just because you didn't get the result you wanted. Yeah. Other chat in there, Chris. There's another question, I think. No.
My question was that
Okay.
how are they reading like older newspapers into this and kind of doing
Yeah,
that translation for you?
they're doing a lot of that. Now, old newspapers use OCR, optical character recognition, which is 80% accurate. This is a little bit different. Like when it does handwriting, it has examples of the way someone did a cursive K. Different examples. They have different examples of whole words, and they're just going back and forth and looking for matches. And the fact that it can do that so quickly. So, uh, here's from Gary. When you scan an online document, what format should be used? Great question. So for books, anything that's multi-page, PDF is perfect. Okay. If you're doing a single page, I usually use a JPEG. Do not use TIFF, TIFF. That's the archival format. It's very large file size. So let's say my JPEG could be 100K, whereas the TIFF would be 10 megabytes. This is what happens with the free version. The bigger those files are, the more you're going to use up your free resources and get booted out. I've been able to do JPEGs with no problem at all. So. The other one that I'm seeing here is how accurate do you think the transcriptions and translations are based on your experience? I think that they're about 90% accurate. It depends on what it is. Like I said, its weak areas right now are Cyrillic, uh, Hebrew, uh, and let's see, Yiddish as well. The thing is also, it will read a tombstone. It can read Hebrew on a tombstone and translate it for you. So it also depends on the quality of that document. What I often will do is I will take a handwritten document and if I will lighten it up, I will run it through a photo editor, right? So it does the autocorrect. Sometimes I've even gone so far as creating a negative, like a photostat, where the background is black and the handwriting is white. But I think that it's pretty accurate. Other questions?
On the seminar that I attended, one of the topics was using artificial intelligence for land records. And the
Yes,
fellow would feed PDFs of land descriptions into the translate to get it translated.
right.
And then he would use that to put it into Deed Mapper and get a plat out real quick.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's pretty amazing what it can do. And it's so my latest book that one book I'm working on is taking documents from Internet Archive, records, books, etc., and using AI to analyze them. Like I said, a lot of these old books didn't have indexes. I've even indexed my own book, my New York genealogy research book. I uploaded the manuscript and it came up with an index for me in a few minutes. So yeah, I think the more you use it, you understand how useful it is as a tool. It really is. Well, I'm going to take my leave. It's 5 o'clock here in California.